That night, Sunjin sat at a bar by himself, sipping whiskey. His mind was clouded with thoughts. He knew he didn't want to lose Minsu, especially after everything they had been through together. He glanced at his phone and saw countless missed calls from her. She had even sent a text apologizing for going out drinking with Wobin without informing him. At that moment, Sunjin wished that could have been the only issue they were facing. The thought of telling her the bad news haunted him. The bartender, noticing his stress, asked if he was okay. Sunjin looked at him and muttered that he wouldn't understand. The bartender chuckled and said that he might surprise him. A simple man like himself might offer some unexpected wisdom. Sunjin sighed and admitted that he was caught in a dilemma, choosing between the woman he loved and saving his family from a difficult situation. For him to save his family, he needed to let go of Minsu. The bartender studied him, wondering what kind of family he might be from, and then simply told him that if he and Minsu were meant to be, they would find their way back to each other no matter what. Fate, he said, could not be changed. Sunjin smiled at how easily the bartender perceived it as a simple matter. He paid, thanked him, and walked out. The following morning, Sunjin visited his brother's grave. Sitting beside it, he looked at the picture engraved on the tombstone and poured wine on the ground. He told his brother he had come to share a drink and that it had been too long since he last visited. He spoke about everything that had happened in his life and how he wished his brother were still there to experience life with him. He admitted that after his brother's death, he had expected his life to be filled with pain and misery. He had been prepared to work himself to death to make up for the past. But then, someone special had walked into his life, changing everything. Minsu had given him hope for the future, but life had thrown obstacles in their path. Looking at his brother's grave, he whispered that maybe people were meant to meet those who changed their lives, even if they weren't destined to walk the journey together. His voice shook as he confessed that he loved Minsu deeply and that it broke him to let her go. With tears in his eyes, he admitted that he wished his brother was still alive to guide him. Maybe then he wouldn't bear the crushing responsibility of protecting and saving his family. Sunjin wiped away his tears and laughed softly, apologizing for being sentimental. He touched his brother's tombstone, telling him he missed him every day and that he would honor his wishes by putting family first. With one last glance, he turned and walked away. That night, Wobin sat in his living room, staring at the gift Minsu had given him. He hesitated to open it, savoring the anticipation. He knew he had messed up, especially with Sunjin, who was like a brother to him. He wanted to fix things but didn't know how. The doorbell rang. Curious, he opened it, and was surprised to see Sunjin standing there holding a six-pack of beer. Before Wobin could speak, Sunjin said he just wanted to hang out. Wobin let him in. Standing on the balcony drinking beer, Sunjin suddenly laughed. Wobin, confused, asked what was so funny. Sunjin reminded him of when they were kids, how he had a puppy, but Wobin always scolded him for not taking care of it. Wobin laughed, remembering that he had eventually taken the puppy for himself. He had fed it, played with it, and it became attached to him. Sunjin recalled feeling sad for a week, but later realizing that Wobin had genuinely cared for the puppy. That knowledge had made him feel better. Turned serious and apologized for snapping at Wobin. Wobin admitted he deserved it and regretted everything, especially since he had been the one rooting for Sunjin and Minsu. He should have known when to stop his feelings from growing. Sunjin reassured him, saying that sometimes feelings creep in unexpectedly. He didn't blame him. Minsu was a phenomenal woman. He confessed that he, too, had fallen in love with her at first sight, but had tried to play it cool. Wobin chuckled and told Sunjin he was lucky to have Minsu and should marry her. Sunjin's smile faded. He hesitated before asking if Wobin truly liked Minsu. Confused, Wobin refused to answer, saying that whatever feelings he had, He wasn't going to act on them. It would be wrong and selfish. Sunjin listened, then said he was entrusting Minsu to him. He explained that Minsu deserved someone who could protect her, that the environment she was in was already harsh, and that she had no friends apart from Wobin and himself. He knew Wobin would look after her when he was gone. Wobin, alarmed, asked what he meant by gone. Sunjin, his expression solemn, admitted he had lost the chance to save Tech Bloom and had no choice but to take the alternative, marrying Kim. Wobin's anger flared.